Hello, and welcome back to our course on international relations theories. In the previous lesson, we studied classical realism and the work of Hans Morgenthau. We saw that classical realism places considerable emphasis on concepts such as human nature, political ambition, power, national interest, and prudence. According to this approach, international politics is influenced by the relationship between states, characteristics of human beings, and decisions made by political leaders. In this lesson, we are going to study an important development within the realist tradition, Neorealism, also known as structural realism. Neorealism accepts some of the central concerns of classical realism, including the importance of power, security, and survival. However, it changes the main focus. Instead of asking, why do human beings seek power? Neorealism asks, how does the structure of the international system influence the behavior of states? This change from human nature to international structure is the key. Neorealism is usually associated with Kenneth Waltz, an influential scholar in international relations. His most important work, Theory of International Politics, was published in 1979. Waltz wanted to develop a more systematic explanation of international politics. His central argument was that we should not explain the behavior of states primarily by looking at their internal characteristics or leadership personalities. Instead, Waltz focused on the environment in which states operate, the international system. This system creates pressures and constraints that influence state behavior. To understand Waltz, think about levels of analysis. At the individual level, we study leaders. At the state level, we examine domestic political systems. At the systemic level, we look at the international system as a whole. Waltz was particularly interested in this third level, the systemic level. He wanted to understand, why do states often behave in similar ways, even when they have very different governments, cultures, and political leaders? His answer was that the structure of the international system creates similar pressures for all states. Now, let's understand the important concept, structure. In neorealism, structure is determined by two elements, the organizing principle of the system and the distribution of capabilities among states. The first element is anarchy. In international relations, anarchy does not mean chaos. It means there is no central authority above sovereign states. Waltz describes the system as anarchic because states operate without a higher political authority. This differs from domestic politics, where the principle is hierarchy. At the international level, states exist in anarchy. No state is formally subordinate to another in the way individuals are subordinate to their government. For Waltz, the main units are states. States may be different internally, democratic, authoritarian, rich or poor, but they perform similar basic functions. They all deal with security, survival, and protecting interests. Neorealism describes states as functionally similar units. The major difference is how much capability they possess. Some have enormous military capabilities, large economies, or advanced technology. The way these are distributed is called the distribution of capabilities. The system can be unipolar, one dominant power, bipolar, two major powers, or multipolar, power distributed among several major powers. The number of major powers influences the structure, which in turn influences how states behave. This leads to a fundamental concept, self-help. In an anarchic system, states cannot depend on another authority for security. Ultimately, they must be prepared to protect themselves. This is self-help. Alliances are not permanent guarantees because interests and governments change. States must consider their own capabilities. The system also creates systemic constraints. A constraint limits choices. States do not have complete freedom. A policy that ignores the distribution of power may create serious consequences. Imagine a weak state challenging a powerful one. The international distribution of capabilities creates limits. The weaker state cannot ignore this difference in power. The system doesn't tell states exactly what to do, but it influences choices by creating pressures, incentives, and limitations for all states. This is why states with different political systems behave similarly. Both democratic and authoritarian states operate in anarchy and must respond to potential threats. Let's summarize. Classical realism focuses on human nature and political ambition. Neorealism focuses on the structure of the international system and systemic constraints. If states operate in anarchy, how much power should they seek? Defensive realists argue states primarily seek security, as too much power can be dangerous. Offensive realists argue states maximize relative power, because they can never be certain about others' intentions. We will study both in next lessons. In review, Neorealism focuses on structure, anarchy, and states as similar units. In the next lesson, we will examine defensive realism. See you there.